for the season 32 that started in 2024, and it's called Skyfall: The Ascendant Conflict Part 1. I'll walk through the patch and we'll figure out what has happened. So, the first part is actually quite important. Game rules update. All pieces that are replaced will now be shuffled back into the deck, including undead pieces, Pandaren pieces, which were not shuffled back and can be recruited. A lot of people have asked me about this, both what does it mean, but also they'll say stuff like, Oliver, I see a panda in the shop. How is that possible? So, in DAC, you have what is called the public chess pool. So all the units you can buy in the game, they belong to the public chess pool. Now, how does the public chess pool work? Well, first of all, if Gyro is not among the 10 legendary units in the game, he will not be in the public chess pool, right? You can only egg units that are in the public chess pool. And also, you used to not be able to get monopoly money from gold from units that were not on the public chess pool, but that has also been somewhat changed. So just for so everyone knows, the public chess pool is for all of the pieces in the game. I will read the numbers for the specific amount of units that are in different tiers, but it varies. It's random from each game, and it's random from each piece in the game. I'll put the numbers on the screen as well. So for the 1-cost units, there will be either 18 to 21 copies of them in the public chess pool. For the 2-cost units, it'll be 15 to 18 units. For the 3-cost units, it's 12 to 15 units. For the 4-cost units, it's 9 to 12 units. And for the 5-cost units, it's 9 to 12 units as well. What does this mean? This means that when you are rolling for 2-cost, for example, there will either be 15, 16, 17, or 18 Chaos Knights or Snipers in the public chess pool. This is why sometimes you can't find a unit. It's because other people might be rolling for the same unit, and you might have rolled all of the units out of the chess pool. Again, sometimes the number is lower, sometimes it's higher. It changes depending on the game, and you don't know which is which. When you use IO does not interact with the public chess pool. So even though someone already has 3-star Sniper, let's say, or 3-star Meepo, maybe they used a lot of IOs, so there might still be units left, or maybe you find IOs. That is how IO kind of cheats the chess pool. Also, if you use egg can only grow if there are units left in the chess pool. That's often why, if you're contesting someone or you're rolling for the same build as someone else, and especially with 3-cost, you use egg trying to find like the last Meepo, it often backfires because, well, if there aren't any more Meepos left in the public chess pool, then you can't have the egg grow anyways. So what does this do? Sorry, all pieces that are replaced will now be shuffled back into the deck. Undead pieces and Pandaren pieces, which were previously not shuffled back, can now be recruited. This means that if someone sells Storm Spirit will show in the public chess pool and can be bought from the shop. It's the same with undead units. So some unit games you'll be able to buy Winter Wyvern or Nyx Assassin or Wraith King or Spectre in the shop. It also happens for golden roll units, so units that people get from golden rolls but they choose to sell. So you could actually dilute the chess pool, like the 5-cost pool, by always buying all of the 5-cost pieces in the golden rolls, selling them, trying to give a worse 5-cost job for other people. Like, it'll be harder for them to complete. It's a thought, but it's probably not that good. Now, the next one. All targeted spells and items will now have special note, targeted active spell in the description for each identification. I mean, okay. Targeted spells and items, it shows in the description when you read it. That's easy. So the first new unit, Skyreth Mage. 2-star Harpy Mage. Skill Arcane Bolt. Activate on ally skill cast. Whenever an ally piece casts a skill, the Storm Rage Mage will immediately cast a slow-moving Arcade Bolt swarm at the enemy, dealing magic damage to the target. This is trash. It is like, I think they all, maybe it's 100 damage and then it goes 200, 300. I actually don't even remember. But I've tried playing around with this, and I think so far my experience with this is that it's so fucking bad. Because it's on a 1-second cooldown. Yeah, so it's on a 1-second cooldown. It goes 100, 200, 300, which is just not a lot of damage. Tinker 3-star is like 400 damage, and he shoots 3 rockets on a 3-second cooldown or some shit. Just a lot better. The only good thing about this is that it doesn't cost mana, but I have not found good uses for Skywrath. Some people use the Harpy synergy, which I will get to in a second. They use it in the Lina build as like a poor man's spell prism, but it seems seems pretty trash. Vengeful Spirit. 1 cost Harpy Undead. Demon Hunter updated race to Harpy Undead. Yeah. Nether Swap. Now a targeted active skill rather than a battle cry. This is huge. Switch positions with 1 or more enemy pieces with a starter level not higher than the Nether Swap skill level. This is so bad now, I think. The cool thing about Venge earlier was that she would work before the battle started because the skill was a battle cry. Now it works quite a bit later, which can sometimes really fuck up things. It also, you no longer can get the free 1 gold round 20 from swapping one of the rabbits. Overall, a slight nerf to Venge. She's a Harpy. I don't think the Harpy synergy is that good right now, so not terribly impressed with her. Yeah, I think the late swap is quite a lot worse for a lot of builds that utilize the Venge swap. For example, you would argue that was one of the advantages you had when you did Terrorblade 6 elves for Demon Hunter, that the Venge swapped at the before the battle started, so that your Terrorblade immediately could hit and gain mana. Now it's a little bit delayed. It kind of fucks up the whole thing. But yeah, that's how Venge is now. Also, there are only 2 Harpies in the game, so unless you're using a card, you will have to play both Skywrath Mage and Venge, and I don't think they synergize at all together in a lineup, apart from having the synergy. So also not that good. The next change is huge, though. Enigma. Cost reduced from 5 cost to 3 cost, with adjustments to piece and skill values to match the new cost. This is incredible. Enigma as a 5 cost was so fucking strong because you had an AoE huge, pure damage, health dependent skill. And now Enigma is a 3 cost. It's an elemental warlock. Really, really, really strong synergies as well. And we have seen a lot of Meepo SF being played. It is really, really good. So this change is interesting. We're seeing different elemental boards, different warlock boards being tried out with Enigma. Some people are trying to streak early with 4 elementals and Enigma, and it's quite good, honestly. I've seen it, and it definitely works. Again, it allows people to play Meepo SF now again. So you play Meepo, SF, Razor, and Enigma as your 4 main units. You roll on 6 often. You ban Draenei, the best, and you can even upgrade your units and play them as 2-star, kind of forgoing the Meepo spawn, but then playing Tiny and Morphling at the same time, so you have 4 elementals really early. It's quite strong. Also leads to a good late game because you can go 4 elementals in the late game or 4 warlock, or 4 elemental 4 warlock if you want. Really strong. New Enigma change, cool. Lich cost increase from 4 cost to 5 cost. I'm just gonna be honest. The new Lich sucks ass. I played with it in a few games. It's so trash. Just knowledge. The only interesting thing about this is, I'm not sure it's interesting, but it's kind of it's valuable to know, is that since Lich is not a 4 cost anymore, it means that it's easier to find the good 4 costs in Undead. You will see this when I get to talking about what's strong in the meta right now. But it's really easy to find either Nyx, Wraith King, and DP, and these 3 units all are incredibly strong. Lich was fucking garbage. It's still pretty bad now. I think it's even worse now, honestly, as a 5 cost, because it's even more useless. But it's much easier to find the good ones. Omni Knight, 5 cost, Human Knight, cost increase from 3 cost to 5 cost, with adjustments to piece and skill values to match the new ones. I'll read the new Guardian Angel. Summons a Guardian Angel that grants nearby allies a divine protection shield, significantly reducing physical and magical damage and dispelling negative effects. The dispel is crazy. Also, it doesn't say, it actually does say, activate ability, activated on ally injured. This does not cost mana. This spell does not cost mana. So if you have Omni Knight on the board, you do not need a mana item. It activates when your units are in danger, and it's really fucking good. It can save you from a dragon board. It can save you from a Meepo SF board. It can save you from random Cuddle Blast or random Warlock thing or some shit. It is really, really strong. Dispelling negative effects means that it fucks over Lina builds. It fucks over any build that plays a lot around control. And yeah, it is quite good. One interesting thing that I had happen in my game today, though, was that I was playing 4 Priest and I had Omni Knight 2-star on my board. like my own Omni Knight 2 start. And when he cast Guardian Angel on my units, so the units that I stole with 4 Priest, it actually dispelled the 4 Priest steal and gave them back to my enemies. So it says that it dispels negative effects, but it dispels also the negative effects that you put on your own units, if that makes sense. So if you're playing 4 Priest, do not play Omni Knight. Strong unit, though, makes banning a little bit different because you used to ban humans for a lot of 3-cost builds. You don't really do that anymore. Now you would ban elementals if you do cheap ban, Draenei if you do a cheap ban, and if you want to do an expensive ban, you would ban Warlock or Demon often. And also, getting 6 humans is harder, so it's a little bit harder to hedge for the 6 human late game, but often that's also not really the best idea. So it's a little bit different, but it's not that. Viper skill reworked to Viper Strike. Targeted active ability, activated when mana is full. Viper Strike targets an enemy piece with the highest attack damage, reducing its attack speed and dealing ongoing poison magic damage. Attack speed gradually recovers during the poison's duration. So Viper no longer is this magic immune, not magic immune, but magic super resistant assassin that is super hard to kill. You can no longer play Vonk. Rest in peace, my favorite build. You can no longer play 9 mages Viper. All of the cool shit, it's gone. Now, Viper does, though, have the skill called Viper Strike, which is good at helping lock down single target units. It's actually quite nice in 5 Dragon, because if your opponent is playing 1 strong unit, this is quite good at fucking over that unit. And also, it can proc Lincolns if you have, like, Hex or some shit, so it works better in Dragons now. I like Viper. The change is interesting. We haven't seen any builds centered around him, but maybe we'll see that in the future. Rubik's Spellsteal now only steals abilities for enemy pieces that have mana. The Lion, the base damage has been changed from blah 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 to 5%. So basically it deals magical damage as pure damage, and the percentage damage has been moved to the fell power thing. Not a super noticeable change. Makes Lion slightly worse in Dragons, but oh yeah. Necrophos Reaper Scythe. The execution damage has been changed from 200 to 300, 400 plus 0.6, 1.2, 1.8 target times the target's missing health to 500, 700, 900, 50%, 70%, 90% of the target's maximum health. They just buffed Necrophos, which is fucked up. It is so fucking good now. And it was already really good. Cooldown has been balanced from 864 to 876. Good. Also, enemy pieces killed by this will not trigger the death passives. So if you have Aegis or if you have like a Wraith King, it will not resurrect after being Reaper Scythe. This is the most important thing, and it just deals more damage. Invoker Force Spirit is a little bit better. The stun range of the Inferno from Hellfire has been reduced from 250 to 200, 200, 250. A slight nerf on Warlock. I like this. Warlock was really strong. Those are the changes on the chest pieces. Most noticeable is the Enigma being 3 cost, Omni Knight being 4 cost is interesting as well. The rest is not that huge. We'll get to the new synergies now. RP. Current members including Vengeful Spirit and Skywrath. All allied pieces gain the effect when casting targeted spells, and enemies there is a chance to hit +1 additional target. Trigger probability for +1 target is 75%. I do not think this is that good of a synergy. So that means that your Viper Strike or your Laguna Blade from Lena or Finger of Death from Lion or Swap from Venge or Witch Doctor Cask or Hex from Rasta or whatever or Doom, there's a 75% chance that it hits 2 targets or like 1 target more, which from my experimentation so far is just not that good, because you have to play both Venge and Skywrath, which are not that strong. Like, Venge used to be quite strong, and then she was super giga nerfed. Skywrath, I just don't think is strong. And the synergies, apart from this, you don't really want like a mage, demon. I haven't seen good play with it. Some people have been playing it in the Lena build because it lets you do the build without getting Spell Prism, but I'm not convinced. I'm not so. 9 elves. When elves create illusions, they now gain a brief invisibility effect, causing enemies to temporarily lose their target. Friendly elves gain the effect, dodging any attack will conceal itself for 0.5 seconds and create a mirror of attack from the attacker targeting the enemy. This is quite good, and I would argue that 9 elf is really, really good right now. I have, for the past month or so, said that 9 elf, in my opinion, is one of the better plays you can do these days. It's good on low gold. It's good early game, it's good mid game. It's really, really, really fucking good against Forakir. It's cheap. Late game, you can transition into Elf Monk. You can transition into like Elemental Monk if you want. You have a lot of options to with how you want to play this, and most of the counters you can actually play around if you get a good game. And most importantly, it deals really fucking well with Forakia. If you feel like you face Forakia often, this build can deal with it. Gods, Overweening Superiority. Gods now require mana-consuming active abilities to trigger. All abilities get the effect. Using skills that consume mana will reduce the current remaining cooldown time of active abilities and items by 50%. They have the double percent mark. I don't know if this means anything. And they basically just did this to counter things like 6-guard Omni Knight or, yeah, stuff like that. There was, like 10, 11 months ago, there was a build where you played 6-guard Broodmother. And this was a fucking funny build. Because you would put Necrobook on Broodmother. And then Broodmother would just sit in the back of the fight spewing Silken Bola, and every time Silken Bola was an ability that didn't cost any mana and was on low cooldown, so you just keep spamming this ability and just keep using Necrobook over and over and over and over. It was really fucking fun while it lasted. So it's probably just to counter things like this and like weird things with Omni Knight. Demon Fell Power. Now even a single demon has 1 layer of demonic power. Okay, so it's a slight buff to demons. You gain 1 inherent point of Fell Power. 4 elementals. The chance of petrification for 4 seconds is increased from 25 to 30%. Elementals buffed. Not that huge. Naga Scale Armor, 6 Naga. The explosion damage from Naga's abilities now has a cap of 500. So a nerf to 6 Naga, and there's another patch change to 6 Naga. Centaur, the duration of the stun from the charge is reduced from 1.25 seconds to 1. Slight nerf on Centaur, slight nerf on Naga, buff on Elementals. We'll get to the rebalance patches quickly. 9 Undeads. All plagued units lose 5% max health per second, no less than 5%. So if your maximum HP is 100, after 3 seconds, it will be 950. You don't lose the 50 HP. Your maximum HP actually changes to 950. It's trash. 6 Knights, shield chance increased from 15% to 20%, so 6 Knights are buffed. We don't see 6 Knights that much anymore. I played 6 Knight Draenei the other day. It was not that good. Omni Knight, yeah, they reduced the radius. All right. There is one more balance change in the patch that I want to cover, and this is the most important one. Naga Scale Armor rework. 2 Naga. All allies gain 2 stacks of shields, 2 stack of shields. Each stack absorbs 15% ability damage. Remember, ability damage, okay? So it also works on Flak Cannon because Flak Cannon is ability damage. It does not work on pure damage. It has never worked on pure damage, but ability damage means that yes, Naga does counter, for example, Barrel. For Naga, all allies gain 3 stacks above, so they gain 5 stacks in total, and the stack reduces every 3 seconds. This is good. 5 stacks, each reducing 15% ability damage. It's a lot of ability. And here there's PS, cannot absorb pure damage, explosion damage cannot exceed its max HP. And now we come to the most important part, 6 Nagas. Every stack on Naga pieces explode when it disappears, dealing a magical damage that equals to damage absorbed after the last explosion. This is a huge change because 6 Naga used to work on all of your pieces, and now it only works on the Naga pieces. This is an insane nerf to 6 Naga. Incredible. And I think not a super elegant nerf, but it is what it is. Yeah. So 6 Naga, way fucking worse. Going faceless and switching to 6 Naga, fucking trash now. Playing 6 Naga while you're playing like Hunter Elf or some shit, trash. It's just not good. These were the patch notes. Yeah. I've been enjoying playing this patch. RP's not that strong. Alright. So the next part of this video is going to be me explaining which builds, synergies, heroes, and items I think are good right now and you should be thinking about. So I'll just get right into it. So for the good builds, Forakia, as a lot of you have seen, are really, really strong right now. Now, why is Forakia so strong? I will explain it. Forakia has always been strong. The thing that makes Forakia incredibly good right now is Ascetic Cap, the undead item, right? Tier 1 undead item. It's really, really, really easy to roll a Nyx Assassin now. It's really, really easy to roll for different Akia, like units you can use as fruits as seeds. And that just tips the balance to make the build very easy to play, very fast tempo, and very strong. Combine that with the fact that some of the worst things for Forkier to play into, for example, Shaman, is not that good anymore. This means that Forkier is honestly pretty fucking dang good right now. The change that made it so good is the fact that since Lich is a 5 cost, you have a 1 out of 3 chance to hit Nyx Assassin every single time you win a round with cap on a 4 cost. And if you don't get Nyx, Wraith King has like 1100 HP or some shit, has like 20 magic resistance, like 10 armor, has an ability that does pure damage max HP, resurrects after death. Crazy strong unit. DP. DP has always been a fucked up good unit. Exorcism deals so much damage. You can backline her, you can frontline her. Always really, really good for fighting on board. Nyx Assassin. Nyx Assassin is crucial to playing Forkier in a good way. And it's really easy to get a lot of Nyxes right now. Just swarm the board. So no matter what you get with a cap on a 4 cost, you can always utilize it in a positive way. It is definitely way too strong as it is right now. So we see Forkier a lot. What else do we see a lot? We see dragons a lot. Why? Is that because dragons is fucking broken? No. The reason we see dragons a lot is that it's really easy to get Winter Wyvern because of cap. Once again, you put cap on a 1 cost unit, you get either Venge or Wyvern. Venge, you play a little bit for board. You maybe think about going for Demon Hunter 6 Elf, but probably not. Wyvern, you just chill, hold out, and you go Dragons late game. The nice thing about dragons is that when you play dragons and you have just a mediocre game, so much of the game feels in your control. You don't need to hit like the best units to actually field a decently strong board. Like you need to get 1 Coddle, you need to get DK Viper and shit like that. Then you need like 1 decent 5 cost. And at that point, you already have a board that you can play pretty well. And if you get to the late game, that can really, really be strong. You have a lot of items that are really good. This would be like Kaya Aetas, Null Talisman, Spell Prism, Dagon, Refresher, Aghanims, Hex, Trident. All of these items work so well in Dragons. And I think that's why we see a lot of the high-level players, I would argue, play Dragons, is because it's very comfortable to play. And when you reach the late game, you don't feel super reliant on hitting that 1 unit or like getting that 1 upgrade. You can almost always figure out and play a strong board. And it's also quite easy to transition into because you often like playing humans in the mid game if you want to go late. So you also already have some of the building blocks. You might have a Coddle, you might have a Dragon Knight, right? You might be playing a Kunkka or some shit. That's why we see a lot of dragons. It's very easy to figure out and find right now with the Winter Wyvern. Undead. Well, Undead is not really a build, but I'm going to list it anyways. We see a lot of Undead simply because Undead is very, very strong to play right now. Once again, it's because the 4 cost Undeads are all incredibly strong. Whether it's Wraith King, DP, or Nyx Assassin, they all help and support the build in so many fucking cool and strong different ways. You can play it with 2 Akir, you can play it with 4 Akir. You can transition it into a build where you go for like Spectre and use items on Spectre. You can get Necrophos and use items on Necrophos. You can get Lich and sell the Lich so you fuck up the pool for the rest of the opponents. But there are so many ways to build around like Undead fairly easily in the late game now. And mostly all of it starts out from like a 2 Akir or 4 Akir point. Simply just roll 4 cost, play 4 cost, win boards. It is really strong. Other things we see what often right now, I see a decent amount of Meepo, Shadow Fiend, Enigma Eraser. I already spoke about how this is quite good. But yes, it is really, really good. I have a few videos on it. Yeah, it's a strong build, and we're probably going to see it a lot more in the coming patches. It might be one of the builds that we see some people just spam over and over and over and over to gain all of the rank. If so, we're going to have to figure out how we best want to play against it. But usually things such as Pipe, Anti-Mage, Naga, good positioning helps a lot. Lina Mages is still being played a lot, whether this be 9 Mages. Some people play it with Harpies, as I've already said. We still see it quite a lot, at least in China. People play it with Shrink Ray, they play it with Key, they play it with Family, they play it with Monopoly, they play it with Vault, they play it with Weaponsmith. People play it with a lot of different items. It is still quite good. You're still quite reliant on getting the Spell Prism, but it is a strong build. Another build we see a lot, Goblin Draenei. For some reason, Bounty is a Draenei. I Can't tell you why they made this change, but yeah, we see Goblin Draenei being played quite a lot, and it's very easy. You roll with Shrinkgrave, you get Shrink. You go for upgraded Tinker, Bounty, Clockwork, Timbersaw, and Darkseer if you can, and then you push the game. You go Alchemist later on, and then you play 6 Goblin, 4 Draenei, add 4 Warlocks if you can, and then you push your levels on Alchemist and play him as a core. It's good. It's good. You can also play it without reroll and just scale with levels into it. That is also quite strong. I still see a decent amount of Hunter Elf being played in China. Naming this build not because it's maybe insanely good right now, but because it's still quite good to play. A bit weak to Forakia, but it can see play. I see it a decent amount in China. And now we come to one of my favorite builds in the game, Forecast. Forecast is very, very strong right now. In China, they play it more with Monkey King these days. The reason they prioritize the Monkey King over the Lone Druid is because of us seeing so much for IKEA and Monkey King being an amazing unit at shutting down for IKEA. It's always in for cost faceless. Your battery is Chen, so remember to prioritize your Chen. If you're playing 4 cost faceless, play him in the back, play him with defensive items, and play him with a mana item, and he should easily stomp the game. It is very, very strong. You can roll on 8, you can roll on 9, you can roll on 10. You can go for 3-star upgrades. It is just a good build, and we see it being played a lot. Then another thing we see a lot right now is like just classic Aquan boards. This is also just really good. Aquan is also just really strong and just like huge boards. We don't see much Shaman or Gyro or like 6 Warlock or stuff like that right now, but maybe we'll begin seeing it again later on. For heroes I want you to look out for, Monkey King I think is going to rise. It has already risen in popularity and is quite good. He's good against Foikia. He's good against Aquan boards. And if you play one of the better builds against Forakia 9 Elf, he's also good against 9 Elf because you have True Strike on the Trident or the Boundless Strike, his hit. So yeah, Monkey King is worth to look out for. And I wanted to finish off by talking a little bit about the items I think that you should prioritize right now. The biggest issue I find in my games is tier 1 items because I want to get Ascetic Cap for Undead, but I also want to get Atos for Preact, and I also want to get Blink for early board and saves and priests and all of the cool shit you do with Blink. So you kind of want these 3 tier 1s. The issue with them is that only Blink actually really has a huge impact on early game boards. Atos does a little bit, but not that much. So I see myself prioritizing winning rounds with items a little less now, like earlier on, and prioritizing the items that I'm going to use for the late game a little more. That's for the tier 1s. Tier 2, I don't think there's too much to say. For tier 3, there are 2 items I want you guys to think about. One is Trident. Trident is incredibly good against any sort of a Kia board. Even if your opponent is not playing a Kia, if they happen to get an Arc Warden, or if they happen to play any sort of duplicate randomly, and even if they don't, it's 50 damage. Trident is really strong, and you should almost always, when you see Trident, really be considering picking it. It is really good. And the last item I want to name is the Minotaur Horn. So some people still don't understand how this item works, so I'll walk you through it. In this game, we have abilities that are classified as battle cries. This is, for example, Ricky's Smoke. It is Dark Willow's Bramble Mace, and then it is something like Grimstroke's Stroke of Fate, right? The stroke he does at the beginning of the battle. These items all start before the battle. They all cast before the battle begins. They can't be silenced, they don't cost any mana, and they can only be cast once, and that's at the beginning of the battle. When you put Minotaur Horn on a unit, this unit's ability works in the same way. It's cast before the battle begins, it doesn't cost mana, it can't be silenced, and it can't be cast twice. The silencing thing, I think they might have fucked up in the code, because sometimes abilities get silenced and sometimes it doesn't. I've also tried getting mana burned, even though it shouldn't be possible, but that is what Minotaur Horn does. And Minotaur Horn is quite strong as a tier 3 because on Quap, on Terrorblade, Warlock, on Tidehunter, on Spectre, it's really incredibly good. So look out for it and maybe try it in some of your games. I think that was it for the first part of the meta digest of the first part for the first version. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you liked the walkthrough of the current meta and of the patch. I think I've been going through what I see a lot in the meta right now. I could be touching a little bit about more about like the tempo. We still see a lot of early play in the 20s. People in China don't like, they look to the late game, but they look to the late game more so after 30 than in the early 20s. Whereas in Europe, people play a lot greedier earlier on, and it's often really bad. But of course, if everyone is greedy, then no one is punishing. We see a few funky bots sometimes. I've seen some 4 elemental for Monk. I've seen some 4 elemental for Warlock stuff with like Enigma. I've also been seeing the Terrorblade Assassins, where you play reroll Sins, and then you get Terrorblade, and then you use Terrorblade to transform the Assassins, letting them keep their crit chance, and then you play Nyx Assassin and Sand King, so you get like Terrorblade Assassins Akir. It's quite strong actually, but it's a little bit weird. I'll probably be zooming more into this build if it keeps being popular, being popular. But if we keep seeing it in China, but yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna cover for now. If you like the video, yeah, please let me know by either liking the video or disliking the video, or by commenting or subscribing or all of that shit. That's a good way for me to get feedback on what works and what doesn't. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this is a new monthly series. If you like it, then it will be. And as always, yeah, I hope you're all doing good, and stay kind, both to yourself and to others. All right, take care.